then of course we have this marvellous, called again, I don't know, chastity, something like that. And this is all courtesy of the Anglo-Catholics, basically Anglicans and Catholics. Here we have a communion rail, or communion rope, rather. But yeah, the Anglo-Catholics was a movement began in the Victorian times in Oxford, as I said, when Catholics were allowed back into England, as the laws against Catholics weren't lifted until the very early Victorian times. As before Catholics couldn't own land, they couldn't inherit land, they couldn't preach, they couldn't do anything. But during the Anglo-Catholic revival, both the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church influenced each other. As we can see, the Catholic Church influenced the Anglicans by giving them these ornate churches, and we influence them in the ways of the cassock, as the cassock was originally worn by Protestants and Catholics that decided to utilise it, although make it more fancier and grander, as is their style. But yes, everything here in this altar has only been here for about a few hundred years. It's not original to the medieval church at all. It was all restored, as everything in the medieval church would have been taken out by the Protestants during the Reformation and destroyed or sold. And you can still see the scars of the Reformation in this places. We can see all the walls are white. They wouldn't have been like that. They wouldn't have been covered with paintings, and there probably are paintings underneath this white paint, but it would take years and lots of money to wipe it off, and frankly most parishes don't have that because Christianity is in great decline in England here. Yeah, that up there. It never ceases to amaze me. Just wow. Okay. We have a picture dedicated to Lady Mary Beckett of Somerby Hall, died 21st of February 1915, at whose cost the church was restored. It would often be the aristocrats and the elites who would have hid Catholics during the Reformation, so maybe she in some way was responsible for the Anglo-Catholic revival, but she paid for this church to be renovated and restored, not fully restored to what it would have been, but some way, as they did all this carving from drawings, or I guess records from what the original medieval church would have been like. It's not what it completely would have been like, as it would have been filled with paintings on the wall and statues. But you can only do so much, especially in that time when all this would have been considered too papist. These especially I do like. The built-in chairs to this altar. Well, these, I don't know what you call them. But I always like to call these choir seats Parliament, so it kind of look like it. Yeah, looking into the history of this place, apparently before the church here was built in the medieval times, there was an old wooden church that stood on the place that was later burnt down by the Vikings, and apparently in the tower you can see fire damage from when the Vikings attacked again once this place was fully built. So there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of history in most English churches that separates them from other churches, especially in America, as America, according to polls, is where most Christians live, having the most Christians or most Protestants per capita, be it their churches aren't as historical as ours. Because our churches have seen thousands of years of history, reform, change, bloodshed, wars, yet are still standing, even now when Christianity is in decline and Islam's on the rise, and it may soon look like we